Hello everyone, welcome back to Tommy Boy DIY. How many of you have a Keurig machine and just sick and tired of filling the tank up all the time? It's one killer thing for me. So today we're going to take this Keurig machine. Actually, I have two of them. I have this model and my model over there, and we're going to show you how to do it. We're going to autofill it. We're going to put this system right here, this float system, this T shut-off valve. I got tubing, I got tools, I got Teflon tape. You'll need a drill and a spade bit, it's 5/8. And then there's two other ways we could do it too, but we're going to concentrate on doing it using the refrigerator because mine happens to sit right there. So I'm going to run a line straight across behind the stove, and we're going to do it like that. But I'll also show you how to do it with this. If you're closer to the sink and somehow you can run it underneath your sink or right above the sink, I'll show you how to do it that way. And then I'll also show you saddle valve version, which we'll have to do if you have a water line down in the basement you can tap into. It's just as easy. So let me get right to it, and I'll see you in a minute. Well, first things first, let's move the fridge. I won't bore you, I'll fast forward it. So if you look behind here, I don't know if you're familiar or not, if your fridge has the water line, it's going to come up through the floor usually, and it's going to tie right into the fridge right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut right into that line, and we're just going to hook up a 1/4 inch T to it, and I'll show you how to do that. It's just a push So if you follow that line downstairs, that's behind the fridge, there should be a shut-off valve right up in your ceiling somewhere. If you look right there, that's my shut-off valve for the fridge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up here, and I'm just going to twist this. It's just a 1/4 turn valve. It'll either go one way or the other, and then we'll shut it off. So once we do that, then we're good to go upstairs. We're gonna go cut that out. Now if you look up in the ceiling here, obviously my ceiling's painted, but you can see the water lines run right through here. You can see where they tapped off the fridge. With that saddle valve, I'll show you upstairs, but literally you're just gonna put it on the pipe, and you're just gonna tap off whatever the closest section to your Keurig is. If your Keurig happens to be right above this on the counter, you just have to figure out what's going to be the easiest section to come down in the basement if you can't hook it up to a refrigerator or to a sink. So the next step here, either a pair of scissors, a sharp razor knife, a towel, and then this little T-fitting. You're simply, the towel you might need, you might get a little residual water. We're literally just going to cut into this like that. Alright, you'll get a little drip of water, because now you're just going to make sure these are open. Sometimes the scissors squeezes it a little bit. Just open it up, and then literally this T just goes like this. You just push it on. Make sure they're pushed in all the way, just like that. So then what we're going to do next, we're going to need some of this 1/4 inch line. What you're going to want to do is just, you need to cut a piece off of this. We're going to attach it to that T, run it over to the Keurig. Now you can buy these rolls in different sizes. I'll have a link in the description for this whole kit to make it a lot easier for you. All you gotta do is click on it. You can buy the whole kit in one shot. They sell it right on Amazon. So we'll get how much length we need here, approximately. And then literally we'll just snip it off just like we did with the other one. Just like that. And then same thing. Leave that there. Then what we have is the float kit. Looks like this. It actually comes with a couple pieces. This little 90 that'll go on the top of the Keurig once you put it in, and then this nut, and then this float actually goes inside, and the nut will tighten down over it, and then we'll put the 90 on, and this line will attach to the 90. So let's go over here to the. I'll show you how to put this on the T and just run it over to the Keurig. Come back over here to our T. We're literally just going to take this line. Same thing, we're just going to push it right in there all the way, and it just holds itself in. And we're just going to run this up to the Keurig, like so. And it'll just kind of sit behind the stove, just like that. So if you just push this, this will go right down like this, and then it'll sit right, I'm going to get it right down on the counter there so it runs nice and clean right underneath there. And then we'll come back and we'll hook it up to the Keurig machine. So then we have the Keurig machine. Now this is the different model. If you notice the tanks, This is the model I run in my kitchen. This is a model that I got as a test piece. It's a little bit bigger tank. I've tried different holes with each one of these tanks, and I'll show you the most ideal spot to put this system in. This tank here, we're going to actually drill the hole right up front here on the top, and on this tank we're going to put the hole more in the middle on the top. So I'll show you how to do that right now. What you're going to need is just a drill, like I said, with a 5/8 spade bit. And literally what you want to do is, on the tank itself, you want to be a little bit over from the side because you don't want this nut to interfere with that. And then we want to put it somewhere closer to the front. It doesn't need to be exact. I'm going to do it right about there. And then literally you're just going to hold the tank, and this will drill right through, just like that. Very simple. And then what we'll do is we'll do the same thing on this one. I'm actually going to put it right up here. Let's see, right about there. Same thing on this one. Just like that. It drills through real easy. You won't have any problem with that. You're just going to want to clean it up with the razor knife a little bit afterwards. I'll show you how to do that. There's a little bit of leftover in here. So we'll take the razor knife here. Very carefully, we'll just chip away at it a little bit like this. It's not completely necessary, but it just cleans all the scraps off a little bit, so it's nice and clean. I just want to shake out the pieces that got in the bottom of there. Eventually we'll rinse it out before we use it. So then what you have is this set up here. So now this ball valve, which is adjustable, it has a screw right here so you can adjust the angle of it. I have it set up just like that, which seems to work good. We'll take the nut off. We're literally just going to put it underneath here like this, slip it through, and then we're going to put the nut on the top, just like that. And then we're going to have to play with this a little bit, but I'll show you. So what you want to do is make sure it's not going to, you want to turn it a little bit this way so it doesn't interfere with anything. And we'll just tighten it down snug. So we'll test it in here like this. Make sure it's not touching the tank anywhere, which it looks like it's good. So that should be good. So that's the first part. Then what we're going to do is this 90 right here, we're going to put Teflon tape. Now Teflon tape is just a tape that goes over the threads just to add a little extra seal to it as far as the water goes, because water is going to run through this 90. So literally we're just going to wrap this little tiny piece of tape on here, and that'll give us a little more seal for the water. And once we do that, we're literally just gonna, now it's a very fine thread, so you gotta carefully thread it in here, but literally you're just gonna twist it in. It has an O-ring built into it, so once it gets to where it needs to be, it'll be nice and sealed. Now this nut will get unscrewed, and then we're ready to put the line into it. That's it. Now the one thing to keep in mind from what I've seen online is people are having problems with the water not stopping, that it just keeps going. I think partially due to the fact if this float touches the wall or anything gets interfered with anything, it's not going to work right. Another problem is this little groove right here. If it's touching that groove, or if it's too close to that, that's why this hole is about the ideal spot on this particular system. Where on mine, I actually have the filter in here, and then I also have the groove on the other side here, so mine needs to be a little farther back to not interfere. So that's what we're going to do. Now what we'll do is it looks like we're in good spot. Now you can adjust this side to side by just twisting it a little bit if it's starting to interfere either with this wall or with this wall. You want to get it right in the middle of the tank when it's sitting on there. Now what we're going to do as well is I have a shut-off valve that we're going to put right behind the Keurig machine. So if we need to clean the tank or something like that, we can literally just shut off that shut-off valve, and that'll shut the water down to the tank. And that way, if anybody doesn't feel secure with this thing stopping, like the float stopping, and think it's going to leak or something like that, once you fill the tank, if you want, you can shut this ball valve off until it's empty again, and then you can just turn it on real quick and fill it up and leave it off if you want to. That way you don't have to worry about the leaking or anything if you're that worried about it. So it's like an extra safety mechanism. So let's go back over here and we'll get this thing hooked up to the water line. I'll show you the finish. Alright, so for the last part, I got this ready to go. I put the fitting on here. Over here I brought the line across. I put the shut-off valve on. It just pushes onto the line just like the rest of the stuff. This way is off, obviously, so make sure it's off before you turn the water on. Now we're going to put one more short line here, like so. We'll just push that in, and then that line is going to go into here. Now I put the shut-off valve, I want it to be right behind the tank so I can't see it. Now this little piece goes in here, that just keeps the tubing from crushing, and then you put the nut on like so. Make sure you got it the right way. So you push this in here, and then all you do is just thread this nut on, and you just want to tighten it up, just like that. Now with these fittings, they don't have to be really tight, you just want to get them nice and snug. Then what you do is you turn this on. I already have the water turned back on, and the tank will fill up. You can see as the flow goes up, the water level goes up. The pressure pushes the float up, like so, slowly. It'll shut the water off. And there you have it. Perfect setup. So then just to show you what happens when you brew a cup of coffee, in this case we're just going to brew what's in here. So there you go. Quick and simple. Push the tank back. Like I said, if you want, you can shut the ball valve off after it's done filling if you feel safer that way. Other than that, you're good to go. I'll take you and show you how to do it the other way. So for the final portion, for those of you that don't have a fridge that has ice or water hookup, or if your Keurig is not close enough where you can get away with it, you have two other options. Here we have a valve. I'll link it in the description below. The valve can actually go right down. Now if you imagine underneath your sink there's a valve for the shut-off. You'll have this coming down from the faucet. You'll disconnect this from your valve after you shut it off. Then this will go on here like so, and then this will go where this was connected, right above the valve. Then you'll turn your faucet valve back on, and then what you'll have is 1/4" connection here with a shut-off valve already built in. So that's one way you can do it. That's if you have, if you have the ability to bring the line up through the countertop or around one of the sides, and you can make that work, then that's one of your options. Sir, if I could have the wrench so I could tighten this down. So if you have the wrench here, tighten it down. All you need is a regular crescent wrench. It's pretty simple. And the other option is, ma'am, if I could have my screwdriver. Thank you. This saddle valve right here, this is called the saddle valve. What's going to happen, imagine this line's down in your basement. This will be your water line. You're going to slip this over your water line after you unscrew the one screw. And then what will happen is this rubber will sit on here, and then what you'll do is screw this down. And then as you screw this down, you're going to screw down each side a little bit at a time. So you're going to alternate it back and forth. And make sure that this rubber line stays right on here. Once this is really snug on the line, now this will fit on both 3/4 line, 1/2" line. It's made to go over either size depending on what's closest to where you need to put it. Then once that's tightened down real nice and snug, you're going to crank this down, and what's going to happen is there's a little needle on there, and then take that all the way down till it stops, and then when you open this, it'll open up the water line. So just keep it down until it stops. You're going to connect the water line just like we did before. This is a threaded line, so what's going to happen is, just like before, you're going to put this into the tube, then this nut will go over the tube, and then you just put it in there and you tighten it down, just like that with a crescent wrench. So once that's tightened down, then you're just going to open this valve just like any other valve, and you'll hear the water go in there. So when you have everything else connected, you can just go downstairs and open that up. So that'll come in handy if you know the Keurig machine's there and you can get a line real quick down to your basement. Then all you have to do is drill one simple line down, and you'll be able to hook this up to your copper line in the basement, or it'll work on plastic lines as well, depending on what kind of line you have in your house. So with those two being said, those are your other two options. That's all I have for you. If you want to come back for the next video, then subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.